to your guys' point, I don't know if I see Wade Allison on the Flyers roster after this season. I
was wondering that too.
I just don't think that there's a spot. There's a lot of talent coming up behind him, and I don't think he's an ideal bottom 6 player, to tell you the truth. Lazinski, unfortunately, the injuries just keep coming up, and if you can't stay healthy, it's nice kid, love him, came on our show, but you need to stay healthy. The best ability is what? Availability.
So, kind of going off Jack's point, the clock is ticking for a handful of these guys.
Yeah.
Lazinski screams at the top of my list. I personally just think he's an AHL player, but he's a guy who has to have a good camp, or he's going on waivers and he might be in Lehigh Valley next year. Wade Allison, you bring up. I mean, I kind of penciled him in for that fourth line right wing spot. I think he could be a good bottom 6 guy if he really embraced it, just because the speed and the tenacity and the physicality that he brings. There's a lot of skill there too. It's just
he's like too rough around the edges or something.
Yeah,
there's something about him where it's just like, can you trust Allison to do these things? Can you trust him not to take chances and get out of position? And can you trust him just to play north-south? You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say. How many times did we hear last year John Tortorella screaming post-game or the morning after a game, we need him going north-south, not east-west. Maybe that's his biggest problem, because he has skill and he knows it. Yeah. So he tries to make some fancy plays, and Torts doesn't like it. And I think Torts said, not to pump my own tires, maybe Torts agrees with me that he could be a good bottom 6 guy if he truly embraced it. I don't know. That's kind of what I see. I like Wade Allison a lot, but he's another guy. He's going to have a strong camp.
I think what scares me about Wade Allison is the only way he can play the way that we saw that first year is the bull in a challenge shop. Mm-hmm. And he's going to get hurt doing it. So I feel like he pulled back a little bit and it affected his game. So he's got to find that balance, or he is going to be odd man out. And the way things are going, and there's a lot of people knocking on the door, and some guys are years away, but he's also got to prove he can beat out some of these veterans. A lot of people are shitting on some of the players we signed, more so like the Stahl signings. Well, good. These kids should be able to beat out this horrible defenseman then. It shouldn't be a problem. What are you crying about?
Absolutely. Dude, and that's the thing, right? If you're a young kid and you're handed a spot, your ego kind of gets that boost. It's kind of like your shit doesn't stink. But if you get to camp and you can't beat out Mark Stahl, who everyone's like, oh, he's washed up, guy can't skate, this and that, isn't that kind of like a wake-up call? And the coach isn't going to make it easy. If I'm reading this right, and just, from being around sports, a coach is going to pump up the vet all day long, and not the rookie, because you want the rookie to overcome, right? You want them to overcome obstacles, overcome adversity, no matter how small it is. If I'm Zamula or if I'm Addered, I'm going into the season thinking, all right, I'm competing for a spot right away. There's nobody in front of me. All of a sudden, Mark Stahl's there, and it's like, well, wait a second. It's not going to just be given to me now, is it? Now I got to go bust my ass, right? And then once these habits start to build, these hardworking habits, they're contagious. They carry over. You have these for life, So competition, in my opinion, breeds success. Only the strong survive, kind of thing. And that's how it should be. You should be playing to make the team. You know what I'm saying? It should be a competition to make. So it's just annoying because after all these years, we've gone through the Hextall, we've gone through the Fletcher, the same people are saying the kids should play. The kids should play. They're going to play. We do this every single year. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, guys. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's almost like a shtick at this point because it's the same people doing it.
Well,
they're going to play.
All we got is time. All we got is time to figure this out. It's going to be a long time till Michkov comes over. They figure that out. Even, probably longer till they put things together. This is the time to do this stuff. Like, there's no rush. Why are we going to, rush to start some of these players ELCs and, it just why would we do that? Like, unless they truly earn it. Like, just let things happen naturally. Again, all teams do this. This is not like a foreign thing that we just created. This is a totally normal thing.
Yeah. I'll add a quick point to something Jim said a couple of minutes ago when talking about Wade Allison. Can you ever trust him? And
No,
Jim was more so talking on the ice. What if Wade Allison does get off to a hot start and he gets good chunk of minutes and ends up scoring 25 goals next year? He's a free agent. What kind of contract do you give that guy? Because he's always hurt. How are you ever going to be able to trust him? And it's a shame because he's one of my favorite guys on the team. And like this time last year, I'm like, Wade Allison's going to be our breakout player next year. And now it's like, is he even going to be in the opening night lineup? It's such a crazy scenario. I don't know if that's the right word, but like,
no, it is. Yeah.
From this point to where we were last year, like I had a way different thought of Wade Allison, the player.
Yeah, it kind of sucks because, like you said, he's a good guy, awesome dude.
Him, yeah.
It's just there's too much going on around him, and he's not exactly excelling. He's not exactly. He's blending in too much, more than anything, you know. And you got guys coming up behind you. You got guys impressing in front of you. Your contract's up after a year, and you guys brought up great points. You know, how can you re-sign a guy that's often injured?
And you want the young guys to battle, and they shouldn't be given anything. But sometimes I just kind of wish, like, throw Wade Allison in the bumper on the power play. Just give him some extra touches, give him some power play time, and see if that ends up building some confidence. Because we saw it with Frost a couple years ago, like playing with Willman and Mayhew. It's like, do you really expect him to do much playing with them guys? Like, okay, Frost might not be earning extra ice time, but like we see what we're doing right now isn't working. Let's just go put him with Claude Giroux and Travis Konechny for 3-4 games, see if it works.
I'm for that. Like they're in a rebuild.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, especially during a rebuild, just try to figure stuff out. How can you get Wade Allison to succeed? You have the time to figure that out. And if it doesn't happen, hey, you know, maybe it happens somewhere else. At least you tried. So you did mention Morgan Frost there, and there was a report earlier today from the fourth period to Dave Pagnotta that contract talks between Frost and the Flyers were progressing and that they're positive. Frost is a RFA. I believe he was qualified, obviously, so they're talking contract. Was trying to figure out on Twitter today what you even offer Morgan Frost as a deal. And before I get to Occam's Razor's tweet, because I think he was pretty spot on with his contract, I want to hear from you guys because I had no idea until I saw this suggestion. Like, what do you pay Morgan Frost, Jack, and how many years do you sign him for?
Money, I'm a little iffy on. I think 2 years is probably good. I haven't seen enough. It's been an odyssey with Frost. Only this past year has been like true, like, you know, like, okay, we have something here. I want to say like 1.8, but I feel like he'll get like closer to 3, like, you know, 2.3 to 2.8, somewhere in that range, I think makes sense. And I really think 2 years is what it's going to be. The money, who knows?
Yeah, I would love that actually. Trav, what do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I don't really know.
It's tough.
I would imagine it's a bridge deal, but at the same time, I mean, you look around the league and like all these teams that are getting burnt on giving guys bridge deals, and then they can't afford to give them the big one. Do you get after it early? Do you give them a couple extra years? I don't know.
It's tough, right? Especially with the cap, and you see what a lot of these guys are signing for in free agency. So our buddy, I hope I'm saying it right, Occam's Razor, he's also on Twitter. He's in the comment section with us tonight. He compared Morgan Frost's contract to a contract that Marty Necas got with Carolina. So Necas is 24. I believe he signed a 2-year deal last year, 2 years with a $3 million cap hit. He's making $2.5 million in the first, which just recently passed. And this season coming up, he'll be making $3.5 million. Near the end of this season, I had wondered if Morgan Frost could potentially have a Marty Necas type breakout next season. Marty Nietzsche scored 28 goals and had 43 assists in 82 games played. Last season, before he signed the deal, he had 40 points, 14 goals, 26 assists. He was 23 years old last year. Let's go to Morgan Frost because there's a lot of similarities here, and I really like the deal that was proposed. Let me just find Frost. Sorry, boys. Here he is. All right, so Morgan Frost, currently 24 years old. Last season, 46 points, 19 goals, 27 assists. So right there in line with Nietzsche's. I would be perfectly fine. Actually, I'd be ecstatic if he signed a 2-year, $6 million deal, just like Nietzsche's, $2.5 million base salary for next season, and $3.5 the next. If Frost puts up 70 points, that is an absolute steal. And if he plays an entire season like he finished last year's, I don't see any reason why he can't hit 70 points, at least 60, right? And I think he'd be worth the deal. And then I don't even want to think next contract. Maybe we're talking more 5-6 million range, right? But what do you guys think of that? I thought that was a great comparison, comparing him to Marty Nietzsche's.
Very good comparison. I think a lot of it's going to actually come down to, are they able to fix the power play? Because our guys aren't getting many points on the power play.
It's true.
And I remember I talked about it a couple episodes ago. I think the power play is going to improve just by Kevin Hayes and Ivan Provorov not being